Hi folks, RC here. Short video for you, just a bit of a product information one really. This is on an Axial SCX10 central transmission. Now this is out of my 2012 Jeep Rubicon. It's the standard Axial transmission box, and I took this out recently to do some work on the bearings. Disassembled it, did the bearings, that was fine. Put it back in, but as I was doing up the 4 screws that fix this into the truck, I found out that these two here just stripped. I was using, maybe foolishly, the standard self-tapping screws that go in here, and obviously they cut in at a different angle to the last thread and there's just no material left to bite on. I've tried pugging these up with different types of glue and drilling it out. I can't make another thread again, so I can't fix this down very well anymore. You could go and buy another plastic one, but I had a look around on eBay and came across this. This is from Jazrider, an eBay seller. I'll put a link in the description to their shop in Hong Kong. I'm in the UK. This came through very quickly and pretty much the same cost as a plastic one. This is, you can't really hear it, but it's a metal or aluminium or aluminum transmission housing for the SCX10. So it's essentially exactly the same, doesn't do anything different. It's not 2-speed or dig or anything, it's just a standard transmission box, but it is metal, and you've got nice proper threads in there, so you can use the screws that come with it, some nice threaded screws rather than self-tapping screws, and you'll get a much better fit in your truck, and also there's less flex in this. So that's just kind of product information number one. And also, while I was on their website, I noticed they also do aluminium braces front and back for the SCX10. This is the rear one, and it's a direct replacement for the standard plastic brace. Obviously you're going to get a lot less chassis flex, and also where you have the screws that go in to the side of the chassis onto this, again you've got proper threads, and they give you threaded screws, so no more stripping out the plastic on the back. And also they do a front one. Now these are relatively cheap, I can't remember exactly how much they were, but prices vary, but I'll put some links in the description. There's the front one, the 2 holes for the bumper to go through, and then they give you the brace that sits behind that. I know some people take the brace out so they get better servo clearance. So we've got front and back bumper mounts in aluminium, chassis brace, and then the transmission brace. I'm going to go and fit all those now, and I'll let you know how it goes. Right, a few hours later on, here is the old plastic transmission housing with the stripped out holes out of the truck, and here is, I've popped my motor in as well, here's the new one. I haven't filmed reinstalling into the new metal housing just because it was so simple, exactly like putting your stock one in. Everything fitted absolutely perfectly, no clearance issues or anything like that, and it's absolutely fine. So I've been running the central alloy transmission housing for a few weeks now, and I'm really pleased with it. It's fixed nicely onto the chassis now, there's no movement, and I think I have noticed the transmission being a little bit quieter, I guess as everything's lined up nicely and is not moving around so much. So now I'm just about to mount the front and rear chassis cross members that the bumpers go into. So I'm just going to be taking the bumpers off, sliding them out, and then fitting these in place. So let's start at the back. Hopefully I've left enough wire on my LEDs that go into the bumper that I can slide this out without having too much trouble. So this should be hopefully quite simple. I just need to remove the little kind of set screw bolts that hold the bumper on, just 2 of those front and back. So that's the rear ones. Let's see if we can slide the bumper. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. There we go. Right, so that's out now. So I can now take the actual brace out itself. So this is now undoing the plastics, the screws that go into the plastic brace. This is one of the things I want to get rid of, is all these braces across the chassis that are giving you screw threads made of plastic that aren't going to last forever. I have replaced the screws, the standard axial ones that were self-tapping, to threaded screws to give you a little bit more longevity. So I'm just undoing the other side screw that's holding this brace piece on. trying not to remove my body shell completely because all the wires that are fixed that go up to the lights, I don't want to unpeel all of that. That's how the screw off. And I think there's one more screw I need to take off, which is going to be on the battery tray. That one there. That one fixes into this brace as well. Now, I may or may not be able to take this out. I'm just thinking about what the floor pan's doing. So let's try and put my bumper up there out the way and see if we can get this thing out. Yeah, I think the floor pan is going to be a bit of a challenge on this. Let's see if I can flex it past the... This is the Proline floor pan that's a third-party product. Obviously it's... Well, I've got it. Yeah, there we go. Right. So that's the old plastic one. Here's the new metal one. Now see, on the old one I've fixed on some sort of towing points. Obviously the new one, a bit of a drawback, you don't have the same point. So, okay, I can't have my little towing wire like before. That was handy sometimes for kind of G6 recovery type things, but I guess with the new one I'll have to work out somewhere else to fix something like this. Right, so let's get that other one in place. So in theory it should just pop in. I may need to really loosen up the shock towers a bit, I don't know yet. Because obviously this metal one's going to have no flex in it, and I don't know that the chassis rails will move. Let's see. Maybe. I'm just trying to spread the chassis rails apart to get this in. No, it's that being stronger now, there's no give. I can't flex these side pieces in, so I'm going to have to go and loosen off the shock towers to allow the back part of the chassis to come apart slightly before I can put this in. Right, I just slackened off the 2 screws each side on the shock tower mounts. That's these bits just here. You can see that on the camera. That's where the shock towers mount on the chassis. Hopefully I can flex the chassis apart a little bit more now. So let's have another go. I could cut the floor pan, this bit off down here, but it's kind of good to know that when the bumper's back on, it's actually helping to keep the floor pan in place. Right, so I'm just, oh yeah, much better now. I can flex the chassis rails apart. I'm just sliding in place. One side wants to pop in. The other side does not want to go for some unknown reason. Maybe it's got an up and a down. Let me try turning. I've just turned this over. Let's see if that fits better. Well, I'm really struggling to make this fit at the moment. Something that I thought would be really straightforward is not fitting at all. Okay, I've worked out why the new alloy brace is not fitting on the back. Although the gap between the little pip here and the screw is exactly the same on the new one, the actual thickness of the plastic axial one is thinner than the new alloy one. So this, where I'm pinching here, is very slightly thicker. So that's not actually sliding in the chassis rails properly. Don't know why that is. Don't know if the newer axials, this is a 2012 Jeep Rubicon, if they maybe have a slightly different C-channel cross section, but this will not slide in all the way at the moment. So unfortunately I'm going to have to file down a little bit here just to get this to slot in. Right, very small amount of filing later and I've managed to get the back brace in. The problem was it was just the powder coat on the alloy. These parts are a tight fit. These parts are not anodized, it looks like it's powder coat, and just around here on both sides the powder coat was just making it a little bit too thick, so I've just filed off there and there, and the same on the other side, and now it fits absolutely fine. So powder coat just a little bit too thick to fit. Well, I'm using the screws that came with these new braces. There's a small 2.5 hex that's going to go on the side. I'm going to put a little dob of Loctite on that. Obviously you don't want these screws vibrating out. And hopefully we can find the thread. Yep, straight in. Right, that's the two bottom screws. Now I've got to do the battery tray one. There's half the woodland I was in the other day falling out my SCX10. You do also get a couple more of the little sort of grub screw fixing bolts, which is quite good. Always good to have spares of those, they're quite easily lost. Right, so let's unfish the body. So it's now the gnarly battery tray. Now previously that was fixed in with a self-tapping screw. Obviously that's going to be no good now. I need to go and find a countersunk screw that's going to go in the battery tray, but that is threaded. Right, so I found a countersunk screw out of an old RC screw set. I've got another one in there. It's sticking out a bit at the moment. It's a bit long, but that might be handy for attaching other things. It's not really going to get in the way, and it's not going to get hung up on stuff, because the axle is going to bash on anything way before that does. So that'll do for now. I might chop it off and smooth it down later if I don't decide to attach anything onto there. So I'm just going to slide the bumper back in and fix it back on. It seems to fit fine so far. So we're back to the sort of set screw things. Now stupidly I didn't remember how which hole I had my bumper on. I'll try the furthest one out for now. Let's see if these fit. They're screwing in but not actually stopping. They just seem to be going and going and going, which is kind of weird. They're not such a tight fit. Maybe I'll try one of the new ones that came with the set. Let's have a look at comparing these. They look pretty much the same actually. There's a slight difference in thread from the axial one and the one that comes with the set. Let's try the one with the set on this side. Yeah, it just keeps going in, so there's no positive stop. I guess I'm just going to have to put some thread lock on there, because it feels fairly loose. It doesn't feel like it's going to hold itself in there. Let's pop a bit of thread lock on that. So we've got a metal set screw going into a metal housing now. I think whereas before the standard axial rear mount, obviously it was plastic and was slightly gripping on. Right, so that's back in. So if I stand it all up, it should be pretty much like before. Oh yeah, there we go. There's the rear bumper, just like before, but now it's all nicely braced together. So we need to go and do the same on the front. Right, I've got the front bumper off, and here is the original front cross brace, and here's the new one. You'll see that obviously on the front one I've again put a little kind of a strap on these pickup points, and I don't have the pickup points on the new one. That's annoying because I attach my winch hook. Basically the way I run my winch is the winch goes out to this snatch block, and then the hook goes back and hooks underneath, and it would hook onto that strap. By doing that you kind of get double the power off your winch. Well, it's half the speed but twice the power, so that's a good thing for my truck. That's going to be annoying. I'll have to find another place to get this hook clipped on, maybe. I must admit I am sort of humming and hawing about, is it really worth putting the metal brace on and then losing this, but we'll give it a go. What I'm certainly not going to fit is the other part you get on the front, is this metal second brace, the one that sits behind the bumper brace. It goes very near the servo horn. It's the one that's just, if you can see, just in there. Now I've dremeled my plastic axial one out quite considerably, and there's no point in taking that and dremeling it, because if I put the metal one on the front, this one here, it's going to be quite strong enough. So let's see if we can get this on without having to fiddle around and filing off the powder coat. I've not slackened off the shock braces yet, so I imagine this, yeah, I'm going to have to loosen some more screws first. Right, on the front I've loosened off one screw that's holding the cross brace near the servo, and then one that's on the shock tower, and I can just flex this rail, that's the left side rail, slightly, and strangely, there we go, that's the mount in place. There's no problems with the powder coat fouling up on the front. I guess just some manufacturing differences. Right, so using the screws that come in a little pack, I can get that mounted in now. Now, the best laid plans of mice. I was just going to slide the bumper into the holes on the new front alloy brace, and watch this. If I align the bottom one, so that's going in. Now look, the top one is not lined up at all. It's almost as if these are further apart than on the original one. If I get them both lined up, I'm actually stretching these two posts, I'm stretching them out slightly, and as I push in, I'm putting a lot of force to stretch those out, which I don't particularly like. There's obviously quite a lot of machining difference. If I can hold this up to the camera, you can see. If I can get these lined up, you can see how the holes are different. So these two top holes will line up straight, and then the bottom one, the gap between these two holes is a lot wider than the original one. Not very impressed, to be honest with you, what with the tolerances at the back. Yes, they're metal and they're going to be stronger, but the sort of compatibility tolerances aren't magnificent. So the central transmission housing in alloy from Jazz Hobby I think is great. These things, you can actually see if I let go of the bumper, it's pushing itself back out because I'm having to stress these plastic parts, which I don't like. Oh well, we'll fit it and see how it goes. I've got plans for the front bumper, perhaps to be changed in the future anyway. Okay, I've just fitted the bumper into the new alloy front brace, and I'm not liking it, to be honest with you. I sort of noticed that the width of these sort of tubes that the posts for the bumper slides into, they're about, don't know if you can see that, but they're about half as long, half as deep as on the plastic one. So the front bumpers now, it's just not quite as nicely held in place. Now, you know, I've got a winch on that. I don't want this flopping around a lot. Plus the fact that it's splaying out, and plus the fact that I lose these pickups to put my little strap for the winch hook. I'm actually going to go back to the plastic one on the front. Yeah, hey ho. Right, everything's back together now, so just to give you a quick summary. If we kind of go from the bad points first, the front brace set, wasn't going to use this because it will fail up on my servo and I'll have to hack it apart. And the actual little bumper mount brace, yes, it's metal, I'd like to have metal threads, that would be a good thing. I don't like the fact that it's got this narrow tube for the bumper to slide in, it's not quite so well braced. And also the fact that the pitch of these holes is actually wider, so it's splaying my plastic bumper out. I may revisit that if I ever do a metal bumper at the front in the future. I'm not sure yet. Also, don't like the fact it doesn't have the pickups that your standard axial one does. These things here and here, so you can actually like put a strap or fix lights on or whatever. Can't do that with these metal ones. So I'm not using the front one. I am using the back one though. That fitted fine once we relieved a bit of the powder coat to get it into the chassis. The central transmission housing though, that's brilliant. So overall, pleased apart from the stuff at the front. Links are in the description as ever if you're interested in the bits. Questions or comments, pop them below, and thanks for watching.